to what extent we approximate you. The countries which approximate you most closely in Asia, probably that's the Philippines, operates very differently from American democracy.
You're right.
So we're not trying to approximate you, we are trying to find a formula which works for Singapore.
Suppose, the president calls you in before you leave and says, what we have to do is what? What does the United States have to do?
Be engaged in the region. You have a lot of interests, a lot of friends, a lot of investments, and a lot of people who want you to be part of the region and helping it to prosper in peace.
And what mistakes do we have to watch out and make sure we don't make?
Manage a good relationship with China, but don't make that your only relationship in Asia.
India, Singapore,
India, Southeast
Philippines,
Asia, Japan.
Japan. Where is Japan?
Japan is Northeast Asia. Japan
But
is...
where is their economy? I mean, why can't they get back on track?
I think they have a very serious demographic problem. Their population is already shrinking, has been for several years. And aging is very advanced, and they've just changed to a new government which is still finding its footing.
You have a demographic problem too.
I have one coming. That's one of the reasons why we emphasize babies as well as immigration.
How do you do that?
How do I do what?
Emphasize babies as well as immigration.
We have incentives.
So you can come to our country if you have a bunch of brood of kids?
No, we have incentives for Singaporeans to have babies.
What's an incentive to have a baby? If you have babies, you give them tax advantages?
No, there's a cash bonus.
Oh.
First
so if you're a Singapore citizen,
second, third, yes, there's a cash bonus.
Explain it to us.
I can't remember the numbers now, but the first, second, and third, and fourth child, you have $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, and if you co-pay into a savings account, the government will match that for the child to up to a certain amount, so that it helps to, because the more well-off people are, the more they feel the opportunity cost of having a child is exorbitant.
Right.
Which is true, because if I'm a lawyer, it's very expensive to stay at home and have a baby, tender baby. So here's a small gesture to help you defray your childcare, your tuition, your kindergarten, your school expenses. And it's just a gesture to show that we recognize you're carrying a burden and you're helping us to generate the next generation.
Your father is enormously respected around the globe. You know that, and you are his son. Your wife is important in Singapore as a business person, correct?
I'm not sure you'd call her a business person. I think she's an employee.
No, she's a business person.
She's
known around the world as a business person, correct?
She's an employee. You can call her what you want.
All right, but you seem to be sensitive. You were to the issue of what's called nepotism.
We are very sensitive.
Tell me about the sensitivity.
The whole of our system is founded on a basic concept of meritocracy. You are where you are because you are the best man for the job and not because of your connections or your parents or your relatives. And if anybody doubts that I, as Prime Minister, am here not because I'm the best man for the job, but because my father fixed it, or my wife runs Temasek because I put her there, and not because she's the best woman for the job, then my entire credibility and moral authority is destroyed. I am not fit to be where I am. And it's a fundamental issue of fitness to govern. First, you must have the moral right, then you can make the right decisions. It's a basic Confucian precept.
Only when you have the moral right can you make...
Then can you govern and make the country right. And in Singapore, people expect that. So if there's any doubt that this is so, and people believe that I'm there because, my father fixed it, or the whole system really is just a make-believe, then the system will come down. It's not tenable. If it is true, it better be proven and I better be kicked out. If it is not true, it better also be proven to be not true and the matter put to rest.
So if some journalist writes about nepotism and you think it's not true,
well, then we sue him.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
As we did recently.
And won.
Well, we
sued the International Herald Tribune.
We raised the matter with the Herald Tribune, and they paid damages and apologized. They didn't go to court. They could have gone to court.
Well, I would consider that winning if they paid damages and apologized.
All right.
But you thought that what was written in the International Herald Tribune would somehow attack the
Yes.
moral fiber
Yes.
of your trust
Yes, of course.
with the
Yes,
people
of course.
you govern, because
Yes, of course. They compared me, they put us in the same list as Kim Jong-il.
because he inherited his power from his
Yes,
father.
indeed. And in a similar way.
And you're saying we will not stand for that because it goes to the essence of our moral authority to govern.
Yes. And in this case, in fact, the same journalist and the same newspaper had made the same allegation and apologized and paid damages and promised never to do it again. And they did it again.
Oh, so they promised one time, and then they did it again, and
Yes.
so you went back.
Yes.
Are you anxious to send a signal that you don't dare write about nepotism in Singapore because the Singaporeans will sue you?
No. The signal we want to send is, if you want to make an allegation, make sure it's true. And be prepared to prove it. We were prepared, when we sued them, to go into court, give evidence, enter the witness box, and be cross-examined under oath. And they can bring their lawyer and demolish us and prove that what they said is true. What more can you ask?
Has anybody else written anything?
From time to time, including Bloomberg, they've apologized.
Bloomberg apologized.
Yes.
What did they say?
Something similar, I can't remember.
About nepotism.
Yes.
And so you went to them and they apologized.
Yes.
And said, we're sorry, we were wrong?
Yes.
Finally, what's the legacy of your dad? Somebody I admire, as you know, from many conversations he and I've had together.
Well, he made a state where there was none, a country, a nation which will become a nation, which nobody believed could succeed. And he's made a system which can run without him and will endure beyond him.
But he remains as the senior mentor.
He calls himself a mascot. And he doesn't have time to worry about all these.
And what's the most important
issues
lesson he
anymore.
taught you?
Never say die. However desperate the situation, if you think hard enough, you'll find a resource and you'll find a way out of it.
Never say die. Never give up.
Yeah.
Never forget the goal.
And don't forget where you came from. It could all be very different.
And the world today, are we in a good place? Are we moving out of this economic recovery? Are we accepting new realities about where we are?
You have to accept new
We have
realities.
no chance. No choice.
You have no choice. I think you've come out from the crisis much better than we had any right to expect. It could
We,
have
the
been-
United States.
No, the whole world.
Oh, the whole world, right,
Because
right.
of, I think largely because of the United States, because you reacted more decisively and promptly than the Europeans have done, for example.
Yeah. Well, their potential growth rates suggest that too.
Well, there are other problems which
Right.
lead them to be different. So we are in a much better position than we have a right to expect. But there are still issues which you have to deal with. You have to figure out how to do with too big to fail and things like that. And there are other imbalances in the world which have to be managed, like your imbalance with China.
Right. How would you manage that?
Part of it is change of policy and change of economic structure
right.
in both countries.
They should do more consuming and less saving.
They
We
have
should
to
do more saving and less consuming.
That's to put it very simply.
Right.
But
Yes.
it's also a political thing to get people to understand that you can change the exchange rate, but it's not going to solve more deeper underlying problems which we have to address and recognize. And that's very difficult because the temptation when people get agitated and unemployment is 9.7%, where they will say it's a Chinese fault. Let's fix them.
Yeah. Or
And,
let's
name
let's
them.
engage in protectionism. And all
Well,
those
you
other
never
things.
say that, of course. Let's make sure that we look after American jobs.
You look after Singapore jobs, don't you?
Well, but we do it in a way which must be sustainable, which is that you have to be globally competitive, otherwise you're out of work. Because I can't make things selling to myself. I have to make things selling to the world.
Well, but that's exactly what the Chinese are trying to do. They're trying to make things to sell to their own 1.3 billion. And if they can create an internal demand, there'll be a better place. That's their opinion.
I think they're selling to America.
But you
they're
think that's
selling- No, they're selling to China. They're selling to the world.
But they want to create